You know who should be the end boss in the DLC? Mendrith, I know who the end boss is in the DLC. It's the dude that's all over every poster and trailer. Mesmer the Impaler, the most badassest badass of badassery.
And his name is John C.
Yeah, that too.
Ooh. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, Ben. Good to see you. You liking? What musical instrument can be found in the bathroom? A tube of toothpaste. Hey, Jax, how you doing, buddy? Good to see everyone. Good to see everyone. How we all doing? Oh. Oh.
This is what happens when you look down when you're trying to play a game. Can I do it again?
Nice. Hey, Ethereum. Well, good to see you, buddy. How's things? Give you a shout out as well. Oh. Oh. I love accidentally throwing a grenade.
That was accidental.
Yeah. I've done that many a time on Mass Effect. Many a time. How's everyone? How's everyone doing? Happy Monday. Hope it's going as good as possible. And we're back. We're back. Motherboard's been changed. And fingers crossed it's been holding so far. So we shall see. But yeah, we're going to start Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart today. Very excited. I've heard very, very good things about this game. So I'm excited. I'm excited it'll switch up of, I wouldn't say, I mean, not visuals, but like maybe gameplay style, maybe. I'm not sure. We'll see. Doing good, thanks. You finally sorted out your internet problems. Let's go. What was the problem in the end? What was the issue? Can you recommend a few things? You can say them? Yes? Go for it. First recognition is playing on performance. Performance RT. Right, okay. Performance ray tracing. Gotcha. Yeah, it was a combination of the router being broken and the cable in the connection box being pinched that killed any speed it could have gotten. Ah, yeah. If it's physically like squashed, then yeah, that'll do it. That will definitely do it. And sad. We'll go top right. See how that works. Where's your camera? What? Let's go for a ride. There we go. All right. Okay. Why can't I hear the game? Second recommendations having adaptive triggers and haptic feedback on. Right, okay. Yeah, the game audio's not coming through. It's fine. I'm okay with that. Oh, now it is. Okay, that's weird. Okay, so performance ray tracing and having adaptive triggers and haptic feedback on. Gotcha. Alrighty. Oh, well, fuck, that was insanely quick. Load time. Oh wow, plenty of slots. Yeah, Rebel Agent. We'll go with that. So we want HDR is on. Graphics mode. Okay, so we got 30 frames. Okay, so performance. Yeah, that performance RT. It's 60 frames instead of. Oh, that is so much better. God damn. Oh wait, speedrunning settings? Wait, what? That's insane. Imagine having a game that includes speedrunning settings. It'll be mental. Okay, and then the other bit was controller settings. Experimental, yeah. So adaptive triggers is on. What do I put? Midnight mode. That's about really. That's about it really. Unless you manage to get 120 Hz TV, I'd recommend other settings for that. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I'm guessing like 120 Hz display mode to turn on and stuff like that. Okay, that's fine. Cool. Let's. I mean, yeah, I think that's everything. Let's begin. Oh, this game does look good though. Let me know what the volume is. Is the volume okay? Is it a little bit quiet or? I need to get this at some point. It's on my Steam wish list. It's part of PlayStation Plus package I have, so I had it installed. Oh, because the Ferris is the big villain when the first game went out. Pardon me. It's members.
Report to the VIP section of your nearest intake facility for compulsory behavioral modification.
Oh,
It will be fun.
basically mind control. There's our boy. I think it is.
Your suit seems to be working nicely, blending right in. There is the assistant, and there is the infobot. Whew. Masterful work. Now get out of there and decrypt that thing.
Where is the infobot?
Ooh. A little low at the moment. Okay, I can turn up a little bit. Oh shit. You have the ability to have variable refresh rate turned on in system settings and have the game in fidelity mode with 120 frames on, basically make it effectively FPS. I'm not sure if I've got VRR, to be honest. That's not Ratchet. Different voice.
Hey, it's okay. See? Just me.
It's Rivet.
Rivet?
Makes sense. Ratchet and Rivet.
Here, it'll help you get home.
It's the same tool,
I designed
but
it to be one
yeah.
size fits all, so it should. Thank you.
Thank you. She's cool. Oh, okay. Meanwhile,
Don't you think it's weird to throw
looks
a celebration
detailed
for
as fuck.
us? I mean, we haven't done anything heroic in years. What if everyone thinks we're washed up? Oh, what if we are washed up?
Luckily, we will not need to perform any heroics. unless you count smiling and waving.
Right.
Give a big welcome to the Grand Marshals of our parade.
Captain Korg, Jesus Christ.
Ratchet and Clank.
Hi.
I, Captain Copernicus Leslie Quad, will be your host.
Me, Skid McMars.
Oh god, remember Skid? That was quite cool.
Rusty Pete.
Oh, there's our wrench. Let's go. Yeah.
Yes, folks, we have a
Let's
momentous
go.
day in store for you.
I was playing Ratchet and Clank just about yesterday, and I was wondering why it was so smooth in fidelity with 120 frames on.
With a surprise gift from
Oh, because you had the virtual refresh rate and stuff.
Ratchet.
Oh dear, must he tell the entire galaxy?
Wait, a gift? For what?
Oh, you will see. It is awaiting us at the front of the parade route.
Well, we better get moving then.
Starting on planet Belt with Ratchet, a restless
So we're like recounting our journey. That's cool. I like this actually.
that night. Clank came crashing down the night sky,
Confetti gun. Ah.
rescued the defective warlock, and the rest is intergalactic.
I was confused for a moment, but then remembered I had the virtual variable refresh rate on. Makes sense. Ah, they befriend each other. French slam. Oh, goes wild. Nice.
And now, our heroes will clear this festive barricade. Who could forget the Clark invasion of Kurwa? Show the crowd some
Oh, got a blaster. Let's go.
sharp-shooting skills.
Ew.
Well, once he grabs some ammo, of course.
Shoot block ships.
The Hall of Heroes is safe.
I think I found the wombat.
What is this supposed to be a reenactment of? Sweet bounty on your head, Wombat.
Ratchet, I do not believe this is part of the show.
Well, then we have a problem, Clank. Different marks. I didn't get the name until when I first played the first Ratchet and Clank game. Oh, isn't? Oh, because yeah, he's a skateboarder, isn't he? Skid marks.
Someone put
I
a
guess.
bounty on us?
I guess that's a reference to. Grind rail.
I hope this is not about your gift. Hurry, we must get to the front of the parade route.
Oh, hey. Skid's the slap. Hey, this is fine.
Activating Magna Boots.
Yeah, skid marks in the pants. Oh. Where am I shooting? Where am I shooting? Where am I shooting? Right. He's... Ah! Hey, that's Borderlands would like that back, please.
I would bet the blog
This game looks, it does look amazing.
fragmites.
It looks really, really good. Same way as like God of War Ragnarok, it's like,
No way. Nefarious has been retired longer than we have.
it's, even though it's more of a cartoonish style, it's really detailed. Oh, it does. It really does. Oh, hi. I'm just trying to collect as many bolts as I possibly can. That's okay with everybody. Was this part of the... Oh, shit, I fell down a hole.
Our heroes vanquishing is the enemy.
Was this part of the trailer?
Walk the dangerous plank of doom.
Would agree.
There, we can glide over.
Oh, I like the sound the controller makes. That's cool.
I see more of those goons down there. We better get moving before anyone gets hurt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we just want the love bags, and you can just like
Goons incoming.
do whatever you want. I love that. They're like, yeah, we just want the Lombax, man. Rivet is voiced by Jennifer Hale. Oh, isn't she Isn't she in like Baldur's Gate 3? Doesn't she voice somebody in that? Like Shadowheart or something?
Take out that dropship and end this.
I know of the name, but I can never remember what other stuff she's done. Oh, this is fun. I know of an unofficial song made about this game, and it's quite a bop. Is it really? I thought I would listen to it. Are they gone?
And now, we reach the present of our hero's story. Ratchet, the last known Lombax, whose kind is lost in another dimension, will receive a mysterious gift from Clank.
I had a speech prepared, but considering that our event seems to be under assault, I will cut to the chase. Ratchet, I do not know where I would be without you. You are my closest friend, my teammate, and you have given up a lot to... I have repaired the Dimensionator, so you can travel through dimensions and find your family.
Yo, pal, What?
Yoink.
Dr. Nefarious?
Ratchet and Clank! What a wonderful surprise!
Shep.
I didn't
That's it, yeah.
expect to see you here.
Yeah, that's right. Ash from Overwatch. Yeah.
I'm meant to annihilate you
Naomi
8
from
minutes
Metal Gear
ago.
Solid.
Oh, what do you want, Nefarious?
Yes!
It's gonna be something super. Yeah.
Did anyone print instruction manuals anymore?
Uh-oh. Oh, we're gonna need that back. He thinks. Quick. Oh, okay. This is fine. This is fine. This isn't fine.
We have to get the Dimensionator away from Dr. Nefarious.
Yes, and quickly. Whatever he has planned, it cannot be good.
Very true. No, I was thinking of someone else then. Oh, kill me though. No, hold it.
You're still here? Of course you are. Why wouldn't you be?
Oh. Well, this is a problem.
I should have known Nefarious would try something like this.
Don't beat yourself up. This'll be just like old times. Come on, it looks like Nefarious landed somewhere near the train station. Go, Mrs. Zircon. We should grab a weapon.
Need a weapon? Mrs. Zircon has it all.
Miss Zircon! Welcome to Mrs. Zircon's, the one-stop shop to power up your arsenal. Oh, because it was the first... It was Mr., wasn't it, the first time around? So I can have... Omniverse, a Shatter Bomb, or an Enforcer. I think an Enforcer would be... Oh, I can watch a preview.
That is the sound of pure power. And the Enforcer.
Oh, shotgun. Yeah.
The sweet, sweet distraction. You can pull the fire trigger halfway to shoot one barrel. And if you are feeling confident, pull it all the way to shoot both.
Yes, I mean, you've sold it to me, dude.
That one will look amazing in your arsenal.
I need another 300-ish to get the next weapon.
More guns incoming.
Let's go. Yeah, we get shotgun. Ah, okay. Switch weapon? Okay, D-pad, D-pad.
One more to go.
It's a whole triangle, or I can just use the D-pad. Gotcha. Ah. Indeed. Indeed.
Put down the Dimensionator, Nefarious.
Put down the Dimensionator. Yeah, right. Today, you will see what losing feels like. Spoiler, it's exhausting. As soon as I figure out these stupid coordinates. Say goodbye. Hey! What did you do?
Oh. That's not good. I think he might have made it worse.
What just happened?
We may have a slight problem.
The bridge is shot. There has to be another way across.
The rifts are reacting to the face quartz in your glove. Try pointing it at one of them.
Go tether.
This is definitely gonna come in handy.
Oh yes. Okay, I like that. So that's a new mechanic. No. Okay, yep.
This is definitely gonna come in handy.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'm not going to do that either. Okay. Ratchet laughing in the face of danger, of course. Of course he would. Okay, yeah, there's the rift there, but... Oh, wait. There was more than one path. That's on me.
Release the Robo-Mud! I
I gotta get out of here. Ratchet's just going mad. I know, right? It's like, I'll fix it. No. I will not fix it. It's fine.
Watch your head. This is worse than I had imagined.
Yeah. Whose good idea was it to shoot the goddamn thing? Huh? Oh. Guess they're flowers now?
Sand sharks from above.
Oh. As one does. Remember Ratchet saying, yeah, I thought I recognized the voices. Don't fart in an Apple store, they don't have windows. Oh. Got him.
Was that a kraken? Or at least a very large octopus.
Or at least a very large octopus. Oh, I went the wrong way. No. Damn it.
Nefarious' ship! We've got to find a way up there!
The taxis leaving from that stand are driving right by him.
Then we better not miss our ride.
Alright.
Hey, when did you rebuild the Dimensionator?
I have hobbies. I know that finding the Lombaxes has always been important to you. I thought perhaps we could go together.
Wow, that's really thoughtful. But why don't we get it back from Nefarious first?
Maybe. Sounds like Ratchet doesn't even want to find his parents at this point. I mean, when he spent most of his life without his parents, I guess he's learned to just kind of live without them, sort of thing.
Next stop, Nefarious.
These rifts are getting out of hand.
Nefarious is in way over his head.
What is that?
Whoa!
If they did the games, you would know why. So the only other one I've played is Size Matters. I think it was on the PSP. I think that's the only other one I've it's the only other one I've played. I'm guessing if I played through all of them, I would have an even greater understanding.
Did Dr. Nefarious really resurface after all these years just to try and take over the universe again?
Yeah, I kind of wish he was doing a worse job.
Oh, level up, let's go. That's cool, you can use the rifts. You can use the rifts to like move around, like extra like for cover and stuff. That's nice. Especially cracking time. I've actually seen that in my retro shop, a cracking time. Cause it's on PS3, isn't it? That one.
All right, now let's get to Nefarious.
These ghouls are useless.
I'm missing crates. Ah, no, it's all right. All right.
For giving my assistant paid for
All right.
Quickly, we cannot let Nefarious overuse the Dimensionator. We must lower his defenses.
I'm missing a couple. That's fine.
Take that, Nefarious.
Wow.
Codes are so unpleasant.
You're so right there, Clank. First pistol's level 3. Nice.
Yes, run from me.
His defenses are weakening.
Fucking hope they are.
Oh dear, he is targeting us.
Blink. I'm guessing you get upgrades just by throwing them, by using weapons.
Amoeboids. Where did Nefarious find these?
Today, my ultimate plan will come to fruition. It is perfect, flawless, and nothing will stop me.
Level up, let's go.
Probably around 80. No, it doesn't matter. Today will be the last fight.
Oh,
Did that hurt?
it did actually. Ah. Oh, the colours changed on the lasers. Oh, nice.
You think a crushing defeat is all it takes to stop me?
I mean, yes.
Well, again! We're going to a dimension where I always win, so you can finally know how it feels.
Oh, goody. Oh, here we go.
The
Okay.
dimensions are weakening considerably.
This is cool. This is really fucking good. I remember this in the trailer.
Well, it is certainly not good.
Great.
Are we?
Oh, this is the same area where Rivet is. That was anyway. Oh, pirate. Oi. Hoi. That was funny. Dimensionator, quick.
Did I do it? Oh, what is this? What's with all the neon?
This is the part where you lose.
Ratchet, the Dimensionator.
Oh, that's not good. that's not very good at all. Now we're in deep shit.
Ratchet,
Oh, he's lost an arm. Oh, fuck.
my arm.
Yeah.
No. The Dimensionator. It.
Exploded.
What have I done?
What have you done?
Who are you?
Someone with a lot of questions.
Rivet.
Let's go for a ride.
Wait, I have to find my friend.
Oh, shit. Where's Ratchet then?
It's me? It's me! It worked! It worked! I am the winner!
Jesus Christ.
Emperor Nefarious, you have returned early from your conquest.
Yeah.
So, Ribbit was fighting Dr. Nefarious, Emperor Nefarious as well. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. You could say they're just a rift apart. Ah. You said the name of the title. This game does look like it looks like it's a blast to play through. Oh, okay.
Clank? Clank?
Ratchet's in the same area.
Lombax? What is this place?
So they're in the same place, but different areas. Okay. Okay. Search for Clank.
Where are you, Clank? Maybe someone around here has seen him.
I'm sure nothing really, really bad's happened, right? I will say I do love that Nefarious isn't a bumbling idiot in this one. At least he's the eviler Nefarious.
Have any of you seen a little gray robot anywhere? Green eyes, red antenna, very charming.
Very charming. Oh, he's on the hard stuff, huh? But yeah, I look forward to seeing a more like evil Nefarious. Are you willing to explore each area fully? It depends, I guess. Depends how I'm feeling.
Please let there be good news behind here.
Don't get me wrong, I still love Dumbass Nefarious, but it's good to see a bad guy that isn't a joke all the time. It is nice.
Welcome to the Nefarious City Bazaar.
Oh, wow.
Please remember to thank our marvelous Emperor before, during, and after making your purchase.
Emperor? Does that mean there are two Nefariouses now?
Yes.
Clank
Probably.
first, Nefarious later. Maybe he's
Probably,
in his
buddy.
bazaar.
Down from there. I'm guessing when we have a ship, that's where we'll land. Okay, so let's glide down. Whee! I got my boots. Oh, what?
Wait a second.
Oh, Miss Zircon.
Come right in.
Come right in.
Miss Zircon will sell you weapons, but you gotta be less conspicuous, or the resistance will not last.
The Resistance?
Gee, sugar, Miss Zircon is still new to all of this espionage.
Oh, that's funny. Ratchet, and Clank, and Rivet.
Clank! No. I need to go after that ship. How can I get off planet?
It's a test. Only royal starships are allowed to leave. Anything
I
else,
won't spoil much. There's new titles in this game. Ah, okay.
Phantom can help. Just follow the beat to Club Nefarious, and you will find him.
Anywho, I'm going to play No Man's Sky for the last day of Twitch drops. Good luck with Wrench and Bang. Appreciate it, Ben.
Zircon.
Good to see you as always. Have fun with No Man's Sky.
So exciting.
What's Club Nefarious gonna sound like?
You want to
Mr. Fungi. Ooh.
Fun Guy is the weapon for you.
Oh, fun guy. Sorry.
I will let you know when I get these in.
Negatron Collider.
I do hate to see you go, sugar.
I do hate to see you go, sugar. Have I got... Oh, yes, crystal. Have I got enough now? No. I want enough bolts. It's been fun. I'm enjoying space again. Exploring space again, and it's pretty. That always helps. Okay. Not really. Okay, what's up here?
The sooner I find Club Nefarious and this Phantom, the sooner I can get to Clank.
Nefarious is not up there, but a resistant spybot is, if that is what you're looking for.
Resistant Spybot? Sounds useful. Could be worth a look.
Hi. Can you use resistant spybots? Okay, I can buy Mr. Fun Guy now. He must be the life and soul of the party. Because he's a fun guy. Launching some fireworks.
I have been saving my... Their evasion is a criminal offense.
Well, guess we're fighting these. Fuck you, you lasers, motherfucker. There you go. Whee.
Eradicated?
Oh, there is a map. Okay. Okay, so the main objective is there, I'm guessing. Found an armor pod. Okay. Complete optional content to earn armor pieces and gain permanent stat boosts. Oh. Oh. Holoflux? Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, are these like ones that you just kind of get from playing the game? Oh, Marauder? Oh, that's quite nice. Quest. I did like that suit. That's quite nice.
I better head to the loading platform fast.
Oh, what is this? Prince of Persia? Well, I'm working here. I'm working here.
Absolutely.
It's a loading bay. Oh, this looks fun. Kinda. Shouldn't we do something?
Oh no. Better keep moving.
Was I meant to be stealthy there? I guess I gotta take a box all the way. Yeah, I gotta take a box all the way around. Okay. He's a fun guy for sure, but doesn't leave mushrooms at parties. Nice. I jump here. And then jump in there. Yeah, just don't mind me. Chilling. Just chilling. Whee, whee, ha. Bonk. We've got a shitload of ammo. Let's go. Help us super disappear during cutscenes. That's fair. That's fair enough. What? I didn't do nothing. I'm just chilling. Hey! Oh. Get out of here.
Spybot must have Omega level secrets inside of it or something if everyone's going after it. The loading platform must be just ahead.
Mandatory 23-hour shift policy. Production is up
23 hours? Bruh. Oh, wait. You could wall run in this game? Huh. Which are the ones that fully cover the character's face? Right. Yeah.
I don't think I have anything that can get me over there. Yet.
Okay, so I can't get that all that guff. Wait, I probably could, maybe, but I don't know. I'm guessing you're not meant to.
Your freedom is unacceptable.
Unacceptable! Unacceptable, I tell you. Unacceptable. Okay. Shipping depot. Aye. Bonk. This is fine. These boxes look quick. Oh! Neon! That is loud. Holy shit. Oh shit. Oh shit, indeed. I need to turn that down. Hold on. Bum, 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 bum. That's a bit of
Neon_Genesis_ aided my stream with 38 viewers.
I'm blowing my ears off now. Welcome in, Neon. Good to see you, dude. I was lurking your stream earlier. And yeah, I seen you're in Serbia with V. Jax, thank you for the gifted sub to Neon. V, thank you so much. Welcome in. Is it Moments of Green? Hello. Yeah, how was Last of Us? How was Last of Us Remastered? Hope it was good. Yeah, I can save it in the hell yeah. I'm glad you got there safe. And no worries at all about lurking. I was well, mainly because I was working, but obviously I don't want. I do try and say hi when I can, but yeah, it's good. It's lovely to see you. I might have asked this question before. Are you okay with clip shoutouts, or do you just want a normal shoutout? I think I might have asked you before, but I cannot remember because I have a memory of a goldfish. Last one was great. I died 70 times in 4 hours on the hardest difficulty. Oh, that's probably better than me. I've fun fact, I've only played a little bit of The Last of Us 1 and nothing since. So yeah. Fun.
The lengthways and mash with my thumb like this.
Oops.
So I hold like this, obviously. I turn it.
So that's what happens. Now that the cat's out the bag now.
Turn it. And so I'm holding the control like.
That was tame for a neon clip, but we'll take it. We'll take it. But I'm glad your stream was good, Neon. I'm glad. I hope you had fun, even though with all the deaths, in Last of Us. I hope you enjoyed it at the very least. I know I think did you do a race of the remake of the first game as well? I think I remember watching the YouTube VOD for it. Of some sorts. But yeah, no, welcome in, Raiders. It's like David Blaine showing his magic tricks. I know, it's just like, it's just like, I'm just, now we know, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, it makes sense though when you're speedrunning FF7 because most of the time you're literally spamming buttons to skip the cutscenes, so. Or to skip the text dialogue at least. Yeah, erased error. That's it. Yeah, I remember watching it. I remember watching a bit of it when you uploaded it. But yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm Welsh Bandicoot. I'm a variety streamer of sorts. I know the typical. Oh my god, I'm a variety streamer. That means I do everything. Probably not, but I try. I try. I mainly focus more on retro stuff. So like platformers, like Crash Bandicoot is my go-to all-time favorite franchise ever. But we play PS. I got a PS2 that I play on original hardware, so I play games on there. We play PS1 games, PS2. I've got a PS3 that we play from time to time. I might bring that out soon. So I'm tempted because I have Final Fantasy 13 on it. For the PS3, so I might play 13, and I do also have a couple other games that I want to try out. But yeah, but I do more modern stuff as well. I say we're doing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which is the first playthrough, for me. We just finished God of War Ragnarok last week, which was really really good. I did thoroughly enjoy, and yeah, I'm also on the weekends, so Friday, Saturday. I'm doing a co-op playthrough of Elden Ring with my good friend Ben, who's a From Software master of sorts, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We started off normally, but we've recently used the seamless co-op mod for the game. For Elden Ring, yeah, we've done some DLC bosses, and holy shit, there was one Saturday, and I think my brain had a meltdown. It's just like you enter, and it was just like, and it was just like, it's just red and yellow, like colors everywhere. You don't know what to take and you don't know where it's coming from, and it's just like, I'm praying. It was, I think the best way to describe it is like sensory overload, probably something like that. Like my head was hurting after we fought it. We did manage to beat it, thankfully, but it was terrifying. Welsh totally didn't fall down a ladder as well. No, I didn't fall down there. If you check my clips, there's definitely not one of me where I decide, instead of running and jumping, I backstep and fall down a perfectly placed square hole where a ladder is, and I just drop down and fall like 100 meters and die. Because that's a typical thing that you do in Elden Ring, So yeah. That happened. That definitely happened. I tend to do very stupid things on Elden Ring because I'm not very good. I get carried. But to be honest, the fact that I am playing it with Ben, my good friend Ben, is makes it a lot more fun, for sure, for sure. And we did when I did Dark Souls 3, we did a co-op run of that when I first played Dark Souls 3. But yeah, if you need a raid and run Neon, if you need to head out or spend some need to make some food or spend some time with V, then please do. Oh, perfect timing, ad breaks. So we're 3 minutes of ads right as I finish. Actually, what I can do, I'll play my raid video. It's about a minute. That's just over. I think it's about a minute and a half long. So that'll just fill the ads a little bit. But this is kind of what happens on stream. It's just a collage of clips. So enjoy. Confused with the first game.
What the?
Hit it too hard. Ooh. I'm humping. I'm humping a bridge. Oh, that orbital strike. Oh! Oh my god, why is it blood? Oh! Oh. Let's go.
Mario Kart 64 just isn't that good. It just.
Did you not see that?
Our weapons are love.
Justice. Sexuality.
Dirty panties. You got some dirty panties I can smell?
There we go, and there we have it. I know for a lot of people they missed that, but that's kind of what we do on stream from time to time. So yeah, but yeah, said if anyone's coming in with Neon stream, need to head out and take a break and do all that good stuff. Please do. I say that's thing people want. People want is to come in here and sit in there for ages. Okay, ads are done. Ads are finished. It's good to see you though. Moments of Green, you're still there. Lovely to see you. But yeah, right. Ads are done. Let's head on back to Ratchet and Clank. So we've just started this game. And all hell has kind of just gone to shit, basically. It's yeah. We've gone from celebrating like Ratchet and Clank being heroes to like, oh yeah, the dimension. We're just going through dimensions after dimensions. And just everything's just gone to shit. So yeah, here we are. Oh shit. I'm about to die. Don't think I am. Oh no, shit.
That Spybot's mine.
Okay, I would like some ammo. Did I miss some? Did too. Nice. Thank you. I'll be lurking here a little while. Just do some pushing. Yeah, no, of course, of course. No worries at all. I appreciate you lurking, Neon. Especially if you've been live for a little while. Ooh. Oh, hey! Oh. Secret weapons, you say?
Nefarious City. It has been 10 years since Carson.
Okay, oh, you get like a little, and you get like blueprints. Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's kind of cool actually. I need health because otherwise I'm gonna die. Don't want to die.
I'm on my way, Clank. I just need to find this.
You break it, you buy it.
That's fair. You break it, you buy it. You know.
Club Nefarious. Club Nefarious. Where's Club Nefarious?
Okay, so it's this way.
You need to earn the right to praise our emperor.
Oh.
Right. Oh, great. This way? I'm just gonna take that real quick. Yeah, he didn't want that. It's fine. It was like that when I got here. Choosing the face tanking method. I mean, always. Don't I always? If I'm not choosing the face tanking method, then why am I even trying at this point?
Gotta keep looking. The sooner I find Club Nefarious and this Phantom, the sooner I can get to Clank. That sounds like a club, all right.
Oh yeah, follow the music. Okay. Oh. Hi. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm guessing if they're called Phantom, then they're quite hard to spot.
Are you the Phantom? Is there a Phantom around here? Only a dancing machine. Watch out now.
I'm gonna guess it's him. Ah, crap.
First mission in forever and my cover's blown.
Oh my god, it's Skid, isn't it? Oh. Fucking Skid.
Phantom is Skid?
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Come on.
Better take care of these guys or they'll go after Phantom too.
No, you mean Skid.
Had to be Phantom, right? Mysterious dude in a hollow guy? Had to be Phantom.
Yeah, it had to be.
Wait!
I was just in the middle of a mission.
I'm Ratchet. I heard.
Oh. Oh, I gotta hold, didn't I? Did I hold the button?
Phantom!
I pressed it and it just went. Pfft.
Are you? I was just.
Wait, did it grab the thing?
I'm Ratchet. I heard you were.
No names. Gotta be smarter than that if you want to join the resistance, new guy.
Why does everyone think I'm with the Resistance?
Maybe because you're a Lombax?
This isn't punishment, it's an opportunity. Hand over the pistol, please.
No, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Okay. Resistance is futile. all of them? I think that's all of them.
There has to be something around here I can use to reach Phantom.
Probably. Yeah, it's there. Oh, hold on. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Boxes, boxes, boxes. Oh. Oh. Golden screw. Oh, golden bolt. Sorry, not screw. The bolt. I should say the right terminology, shouldn't I? That's why it was there. Okay, cool. Anyway, let's wall jump. Okay. Nice. Dunk. Oh, nice. Now it's working. Sweet. Boink, boink, boink.
Please stop running. Is this some kind of test? It is, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, it is, isn't it? Veritanium, nice. And a few of those, aren't they? Which is nice.
There he is! The football from the club!
Oh boy.
Yo.
Handle this, Phantom. You just get to safety.
There's a resistance number!
Lol.
Resistance ends here!
Now. Damn it. Oh. Down, you rebel scum.
I will recover!
I will recover. Okay.
Now where'd you go?
Boink. There's some ammo. Nice. There he is. Oh, yep. Have some health.
Nice work, new guy.
Thanks. What is this? Some kind of secret handshake? Hey!
Oh.
What do I do with it?
All right, new guy. Try out.
Oh, I can phantom dash. Okay.
Temporarily exist.
Oh shit, that's kind of cool. That's
Phantom dash. The glove handles the rest.
ah, okay. So oh, that's sick. That's actually really fucking cool.
Don't be scared. Use the glove to run along those panels.
Oh, that's used to run along the panels.
Jump, phantom dash.
Oh, that's actually a really nice combo.
I need a royal starship to find my friend. I heard you know where to get one.
It's not safe here. Just stay close.
Yeah, got that. Sorry. Pardon me. Excuse me. Coming through.
Can you get a royal starship or not?
Lombaxes. You are just as stubborn as she is.
Wait, you know that other Lombax? Where did she go?
Sargasso. She always goes there after a
Ratchet
mission.
and Clank Parkour Edition. At their hometown?
I'll make you a deal. You see that blimp? You help me take control of it, and I'll help you get into Nefarious Tower. It's the only place in the city you're gonna find a royal starship.
What's so special about the blimp?
Just find a way up to that rooftop. I gotta grab my gear. But I'll meet you up there.
I'll meet you up.
How do I get to that rooftop? I'm coming, Clank. Just hang on.
I am so proud to be a part of our Emperor's glorious vision.
Yep, you're now dead. As dead as a robot can be, I guess. Nice. I like that's satisfying, that combo. 18 hours in line in the queue. That's a new record. That's such a British thing, isn't it? Oh no! I'm trying to Dr. Fungi. Oh, you spawn like little minions. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of neat. Alright. Okay, now where do I go? Oh, yeah. I'm done.
Hold on, honey.
Oh!
You should use that raritanium in your pockets to upgrade your arsenal.
I'll use the raritanium to upgrade.
You know it is quality when you buy from Miss Zircon.
Okay. Tutorializer. Use that. So it's ammo, gold. Gold cells. Oh yeah, it's like the first game. It's like the other game. And then yeah, like if you do a circle like a hexagon around the gold thing, you get the actual boost.
See?
Okay.
Why settle for a good weapon when you can make it magnificent?
True.
Always worth the cost to keep your weapons in tip-top shape.
I do this. Nice. Uses ammo pickup from crates by 50. Oh, that is nice.
Treat yourself to an
Shadow Bomb, Enforcer. Yeah, we'll do Enforcer. Gold shots. Shots pierce anything in their path. Nice. How many do I need for this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay. Nice, let's go. Hey, Cinema. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hits the head to bonus damage. Okay, nice. So I've upgraded I got 2 of the burst pistol, and I got the Enforcer 1 upgrade. Nice. Okay. Sweet. How you doing, Cinema? Good to see you. Good to see you. Then we got. I think next I'll probably do the Shatter Bomb, probably, and then Mr. Fungi. Fungi. Oh, you're gonna make them more annoying. Nice. Topiary Sprinkler. You won't believe what this will do to your enemies. Okay, so if I get another 1100, I can get the Negatron Collider.
Thanks again for the help, Secret Agent Zircon.
Good luck up there. And Miss Zircon was never here.
Man, oh man, those jets really got into the nexus of my sister board.
So you made it after all.
Watch the video? What video?
You can see me? Where are you? You got my starship ready?
You'll get it, don't you worry. I just need you to help me with
I'm reading a book and not understanding why a character is doing something else, so I think I need to put it down for tonight.
You can distract these troopers. I'll hack Nefarious's propaganda blimp and give this city a message it'll never
What's the book? Oh, the Zircon Jr. video. Oh, for the weapon, the preview weapon. Right. Remind me next time. Not that. This is cool. Dude. Oh, level up. Let's go. I remember this being a thing where, like, the more you use a weapon, it levels up, so like it gets more powerful. Right. On guard, motherfuckers! I'm sorry, what now?
Finally! Nefarious Tower, here I come.
What's the difference of any weapon? Yeah, we'll do.
Wow, where'd you learn how to do? Looks like I touched a nerve. All right, deal's a deal. That's Glitch. She'll help you get onto the Emperor's private shuttle to the tower. Access consoles and that huge statue of Nefarious in the center of the city. Just hook her up, and she'll handle the rest.
What are you doing?
Tearing this whole rotten world down from the inside.
Huh?
Stay strong, brother!
How do you expect me to get to the bazaar from here?
Not sure you'd be interested in the book. Put it this way, Luca would be interested in it. Ah, okay. No, it wasn't. I was just curious what it was called. You know, let's see if I heard of it or not. Cool. I'm not really one for reading books anyway.
Get back to the bazaar? That'll work.
All right then, let's grind.
All I gotta do now, whoa, this is fast, is head to the statue, use Glitch, get a starship, and then find Clank on Sargasso.
Easy.
I'm on my way, buddy. Just hang in there for a little bit longer.
Oh. Circon's here and she...
We got it all, honey. Need a beam that will not quit? Check out the...
Legends tell of a weapon that contains energy so powerful, a beam of it will obliterate enemies with the mere press of a button. And it is called the Negatron Collider! Obliterate your enemies in a row, or
The Negatron Collider!
the energy to blast away evil is in your hand.
So cool. Oh, I can actually buy it. Let's go.
Ahead, Shug. That is a great deal.
I think that's purchased. Shut up,
Hey, you know what is better than watching explosives? Throwing them with your bare freaking hands!
I mean, very true.
Buy a trigger halfway to visualize your aim. Or, if you are in a hurry, pull it all the way
Hurry!
more like Shada Booyah!
Oh, I've heard that one. The first one I've already previewed.
The only weapon who has destroyed Little Zircon's enemies and performed at his last birthday party.
Nice. Perfect.
You all come back real soon now.
Oh, Megatron Collider. Level 2, level 1. Yeah, I might try and keep trying to use the other weapons as much as I can, just level them up. If at all possible.
That has to be the access console.
Cutting in line is against the law.
Where did you even come from?
Walking by will be so much fun.
Blurb. Oh, okay.
Wow. Oh no.
I am glad to see you have survived the journey. Now die.
Now die. That's fine.
Enjoy this deadly laser, rebel.
How about the wildlife is actually attacking it as well? That's kind of funny. See. I know I can buy more ammo. It's fine. I didn't want to waste.
Trying to destroy you as fast as I can.
I didn't want to waste too much ammo.
There. Now I can finally plug Glitch into this access console.
Only leveled up. Yeah, it is Titus. Same voice actor.
Yeah, hi. You must be Glitch. I'm Ratchet. Sorry for all the jostling around earlier. Things aren't exactly going well, and actually, I think you're the only one who can help me right now. Thanks.
A little mini game.
Seems like a nice guy. I probably just have to delete some files, and then he'll be all set.
Oh, Glitch sounds adorable already. Okay, yeah. Oh. Is Glitch so adorable? Why do I need that? Why do I now need like a plushie of Glitch? Why is this now a thing? Oh. Oh, yep. Oh no.
Looks like the computer is back online.
Let's go. That's actually pretty cool. That's neat. I like that little minigame.
You did it, Glitch!
Ah.
Welcome back, Your Most Majestic Majesty.
Here we go.
The Emperor's Tower. Once we can get out of here.
Warbombs, 5 planet-destroying cannons, and a surveillance state covering the entire city. If only the blasted Dimensionator still worked.
Clank.
Huh?
Bonk. Time to go. Oh, nice little somersault into that.
Welcome, oh master of us all. Password, please.
Why do I need a password? I'm the Emperor. How about I obliterate you instead? Ha 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 ha.
That's the password. That's hilarious. Oh, that's too funny. Get that pesky
Dimensionator
Lombax.
was stolen by Dr. Nefarious, who used it to bring you here? Now you just have to find your friend, who is also miraculously a Lombax, to save the day.
And get home.
You must seriously think I'm an idiot. Look, as real as I'm sure this Dr. Nefarious is, this has the Emperor written all over it.
Help! Wait! Under attack! Anyone?
Mort? What's going on?
Oh dear.
Brace for impact!
Oh. Look out.
What do you think I'm doing?
It's very it does fit Nefarious's character.
Where are you taking me?
I was gonna take you to my hideout, but first I gotta rescue my friends at their gelatonium factory.
This is very picturesque. Yeah, it's such a nefarious, Dr. Nefarious, Emperor Nefarious like thing. So I'm guessing we're gonna get like 2 sets of weapons. That's kind of cool. Cool that Rivet's got like a hammer. I like the hammer. I don't know, but like Amy Rose from Sonic. Kinda. That's probably the only sort of similarity, I'd say. I have weapons already. Oh, you have the same weapons. Oh. Huh. That's pretty cool. How?
Great! There's a secret right over my hideout. I haven't been out this far in a while.
How does that
A
work?
lot of swamp acid between here and the Mortz's gelatonium factory.
Those beetles.
Oh no, but yeah, that makes sense because of yeah, the shopkeep.
Yeah.
Miss
That's why I'm gonna ride one.
Zircon.
As soon as I can get close.
Makes sense because Ratchet thought Ratchet was Rivet, and yeah.
This wasn't what was in my account last time.
Oh, that is because I added our mutual friend on Nefarious City.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, Ricochet.
I will let you know when I get these in.
Ricochet. Topiary. Have you ever wondered what your enemies would look better as tasteful garden sculptures? Oh, okay.
Who doesn't love a day in the sun? Rooting your enemies into the ground with the topiary sprinkler.
That's pretty cool.
On a turret that warps your foes into defenseless, trimmable hedges.
That's amazing. Bye-bye now. Wait, any more upgrades? Oh yeah, because the more you level them up, you get more stuff. Yeah. If I do the shatter bomb. 1, 2. I need 2 more to get that extra ammo pickup. Nice. So I'll focus on the shatter bomb for now. It didn't let me. Yeah, I can't preview it. I think 'cause it's coming soon. It wouldn't let me preview. I would have otherwise. Okay. Okay, Miss Zircon. One and only, I know, right? Oh, sure. Oh, level 3. Nice. 50 health there instead of 20. Cool. We're farming that XP. Let's go. Bonk. Bonk. I feel like I need to use my weapons though. Actually, I probably should. I'm saying I probably should. Level 2. Well, that's nearly level 3. Oh no. You know, that makes sense now. Like, Rivet probably already had these in an inventory, and then Ratchet just gets them because he looks like Rivet. Or is a friend of Rivet. Probably. I know this is not the best weapon to use, but, you know.
It appears some dimensional distortion is emanating from that cave.
Oh, level 3, let's go. I know it's a shotgun. I wanted to level it up. And then we got a Negatron. I'll probably use that for like bigger enemies.
A dimensional pocket? Perhaps a symptom of the Dimensionator's destruction.
How do you come up with this stuff?
He's just really smart with it. He's just really smart.
The Mortis helper bot must have wandered in through the rift somehow.
There is the Speedle.
Yeah, but bolts. We must get the bolts. Oh wait, how do you get over there? Oh, you can speed up. I mean, it's not going that fast. I think. Come on now. There was Veritanium. Oh, was there? What, in the pocket dimension I'm in, or somewhere else? Here to start the pocket dimension. Okay. Can I go back there now?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it.
Oh, Galactic Ranger helmet. Let's go.
All girls all over the world. Original King Julian for the case man. I love how all the girls move their body. And when you move your body, you move it nice and sweet.
I can't get back there, can I?
Woman, you're cute, and you don't need no makeup. Original cute body
don't think I can... Yeah, 'cause if I jump off, I fall. Yes, I gotta go this way. If I missed it, I missed it. Oh, hang on, I missed it. Yeah, like that. Move it. If I do miss a couple of raritaniums, then that's fine. I've probably missed a handful already. I think I'm gonna get off the speedle here, but thank you for that theory. All the bolts. It's like previous games in the series, you can revisit worlds. Yeah, that makes sense then. Yeah, if I ever want to go back and I can, if I know I'm short, I can go back and grab them. Boost! Wait. Oh, I'm back here again. Why can't you? Oh, did I miss that? Oh, okay. Oh! There. Nice. Am I gonna... Has it gone back in? Oh, we're in a different place now. Yeah. Ow.
Please be careful.
What did I say about backseat driving?
What did I say about backseat driving? It's like that one Spyro clip. Yep. That was Spyro 3, if I'm not mistaken. What level was that again? Oh, it was the Lost Harbor? Lost Fleet? No, Lost Fleet I think it was called. It was in Autumn... Evening Lake. Homeworld. Oh, yep. No, thank you. Yeah, but I want to fight. I'm fighting Runthor. Ow. That hurt. Ow, that hurt again. I did try the shrub weapon just now. Oh, there's some titanium there. It's a good like decoy mechanic. You know, if you want to like get like take aggro away from you, you just use that. Helps a bunch. I'm guessing. Oh. Nice. Gotta watch out for... Yeah, Mr. Fungi. Oh, the shrubbery weapon. Oh, wait. Oh. Oh yeah, that's not on the list, is it? The quick list. Hold on. Yeah. I have to manually assign that. Wait, did I buy it? Oh no, I didn't have enough money for it. I think I was a little bit short. I didn't get it. I haven't got it yet. Seems to be very open. Boost. Nice. Oh, that's a little shortcut back. Oh, okay. Neat. And then... So... I can't go there yet. It's all sectioned off. Okay, well, I've got nowhere else to go except from in here, I guess. You could, like... Oh, that's a problem. Oh, yep, I'm dead.
Now, if we could get away from this acid...
Yeah, I know.
Let's find the morts.
Hold on to launch off ramps. Whee! Excuse me, pardon me.
Look out!
I got it. See? Sometimes I don't crash.
And there's that.
Please, be careful.
What did I say about backseat
Seat driving. I want to collect things. I don't want to, like... Can I sink on my health back? Yeah, I know. Calm down. What's over here? Okay, so you can go... It's all cornered off, so where you can... Oh, I'm guessing you can slip around the back. Okay. Fine. Let's go over here then and... Cool. Think we're good. Let's go. Oh.
There's the gelatonium factory. I'm coming, morts.
We didn't follow that Lombax and his Robopet across dimensions just to get stopped by some fuzzballs. So you got like 9.5 seconds to tell us where they're at.
one.
Hang on there now.
See? They are looking for Ratchet. I am telling the truth.
Whatever, Bolts. I'm gonna save my friends. Hey, I know where you can find a Lombax.
Another Lombax. Well, that's where your friend is.
Josephina. That's funny.
Where are these doofuses coming from?
Perhaps they were sucked through the dimensional vortex as well.
Yeah, this is starting to become more of a problem than first imagined, huh? Got him. Got him. Nice. Name's Mort, eh?
Mort! Good, you're okay.
Us? Oh, when we heard those fellas were after a Lombax, we were worried about you. Well, next thing we know, you're here saving our behinds.
Where are the others?
Well, some of the Morts are stuck inside of that mess there. Not a clue what it is. All I know is it keeps getting bigger. Oh, between that and our new neighbor up there, we're not doing too fine.
I'm gonna shut that down.
Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Oh, and to keep you all busy while I'm gone, got this at Zerky's. Mort can finally fix that ship she's been working on.
Zerky's? Oh, those pirates didn't give you any trouble, did they?
Only a little.
Hello.
You can give this to Mort yourself once you get her from that purple mess over there.
Okay, head to the hideout. For that though. Ricochet, here we go.
Pull the fire trigger to shoot it at your useless enemy. Oh my! And then it will pop back up next to them. Then what? Pull the fire trigger to hit them again, and again, and again.
More, which is Latin for dead or death. Oh, really? You know what? We'll take that. We'll finish off the Shadow Bomb.
You gonna love that upgrade.
And then we got 8, isn't it? Shit, and one. God, I'm in one shot.
Power is always a good thing.
Shoots inflict damage over time. Oh, damage over time? Or increase range, yes, please. Too short. Okay. Okay. Well, at least the shotgun's got a bit more oomph to it now. Okay, so we need to save up for the ricochet now. It's fine. Topiary sprinkler. We got okay, so that's bottom left. I'll quick select that. Down, haven't missed it. Okay. They speak with a Canadian accent for some reason, eh? Oh yeah, that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hello, eh?
How's it floating, Maynard?
Cool. I couldn't quite figure out what the accent was.
Hideout. Just have to lower the bridge somehow.
Oh, that secret Pete's in a huff about something. I wonder what it's
Wait, what is that?
Okay. Do not enter. Got it.
May I take a look? I have some experience with dimensional anomalies.
Sure.
Oh. Oh, another minigame. Not Canadian enough, though. They're not apologizing. That's funny.
Greetings! Welcome
Harry?
How did you get in here?
Where exactly is, here?
Oh, you don't know? Well, I don't either. It appears to be a space between dimensions.
I don't either.
Could be nothing. Could be a cascading entropic fissure that will soon turn the entire universe into a formless soup. Time will tell.
Jesus.
Oh dear.
His character already.
Well, I am Clank. Please allow me to help.
Right, yes, Clank. I am the all-seeing cosmic prophet of interdimensional sector 2255 phase Omega. But you can call me Gary.
Let's keep it Gary for short, you know?
Warbot teamed up with the Lombax. Became a hero. Ooh, good for you. Ooh, friend of my father. I see.
Your father?
You might just be the one I've been waiting for. Would you like to help me fix the dimensions?
Wait, he looks kind of familiar.
You know how to fix the dimensions? And why are there copies of me running around?
They're your possibilities. The key to repairing this anomaly. But first, pick up that nearby sphere.
Right. Oh, right, that one. Yeah, that makes sense.
This is a lift sphere. It can reduce the gravity on any object it touches. It seems your possibilities
Oh.
keeps the anomaly from collapsing. They look like you because that's how you interpret dimensionality.
That's kind of sick.
As you can see, they've lost their way. If you can guide them to the meta terminal ahead,
Plus, is never ending.
repair this anomaly. Now, enter the meta terminal and you'll be one step closer to fixing this dimensional anomaly.
Like things are slowly starting to make sense. Dimensionally speaking.
Ah, a speed sphere. That'll get you moving.
I bet some extra speed could make quick work of that barrier.
Okay, I need to grab that. Hold on.
You live on Sargasso too, Gary?
Savali, actually. I've been studying in the archives. It's the greatest repository of dimensional knowledge I've ever seen.
Oh, so go. That's kind of cool.
Should give me a lift.
It's like, but they're not going far enough. Oh no. Bonk. Fly me away.
Direct my possibilities. There must be a way to activate it.
There we go. At least it's not the Gary from that one Fallout vault.
Outstanding! You seem to be a natural at this, Clank.
I am cautiously
Just the optimistic. I do like him. He looks cool already. I see it now. It's always been inside of me.
I feel myself
And now I feel so free.
these puzzles, but I cannot
And this
explain
possibility.
Words will come to you when you are ready. Now, lead your possibilities to the final meta terminal. And not to stress you out, but there's a lot riding on this. Like, a lot.
If I fix this anomaly, will that fix all the damage that has been done in this dimension?
Oh no, anomalies are spreading too quickly to do that. I'm afraid a dimensional cataclysm is coming, and our only hope to stop it is with that which caused it.
The Dimensionator?
Indeed. But if repairing anomalies is helping you learn about dimensionality, I think you'll soon be able to learn enough to save us all. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
I wonder if I will be able to solve all of this in the end.
What makes you say that?
It has been a long time since I have been a hero. And with everything that
Aww.
happened with the Dimensionator, I am concerned.
In times of great stress, which seems to be every day of my life, I've always found it best to take things one step at a time. Focus on what's in front of you.
That's good advice. Very good advice, actually. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Oh, ads. Apologies. Hold on. Give me a second. If I ever write a book about all my interdimensional omnipotent beings, will have normal names like Gary, and lovers who will give them embarrassing pet names like Pookie. It's always been inside of me. Now I feel so free and the possibility.
That's it, Clank! You've repaired the anomaly! And now we're one step closer to stopping the dimensional cataclysm.
Yay! Right, let me grab my. Let me turn my light on actually. Better lighting in here. Appreciate the follow though. Appreciate it. Oh, right. Yeah, definitely Sonic Unleashed vibes. The possibility of never ending. I see it. See it. And now it's all within my reach. And this possibility. Oh. About 30 seconds or so. 9 o'clock. Okay. Okay, and it's done. Let's get out of here.
So then I says, listen, Mort, you, Mort, and Mort better hide that lemonade before Mort shows up.
Whoa! You saved them! How did you do that?
I am uncertain.
Rivet! How the heck are you?
Look who it is!
Oh, nice. Nice.
You would not believe my luck today. My trip to Nefarious City went totally sideways. I wrecked my ship, and
You go on and leave that one to old Mort. Well, assuming you brought that part I asked for, I'll have this old thing in ship shape.
just gotta lower the bridge, and then I'm taking you to my hideout.
Okay.
What are we going to do there?
You'll find out soon enough.
Why is it attacking us? The T-Rex into it.
Hope you have enough ammo.
I have plenty. Thank you very much.
Stubborn Grunthor, too!
Okay, should have dodged that. Ow. Nice. Level 3. Done that. Capiche. Free titanium. Nice. So we can get that Last little upgrade.
No more hostiles within range.
Thanks for looking out. I'll find a way over. Don't tell me, my glove thingy can interact with that rift thingy.
Your rift tether, yes. Try aiming at the rift.
Whoa! That was fun!
Whoa, that was fun! What's on? We'll never have that problem of remembering that person at work you met ages ago and can't remember the name. We've met too many times to ask them. Yeah, it's just Mort. You'll always be unsure as to which Mort you're talking to, though. That is also a thing. That's also a problem. It's a gift and a curse. Same time. It's fine. Okay. Do that. We can fly, dude.
I wish you had a jetpack feature, Bolt.
I do as well.
I do as well. Cool, bro. Uncool, bro. Uncool.
Alright, now to lower the bridge.
They don't look. They don't all look the same. I'm terrible with faces, though. You have been forgiven. Okay, let's lower the bridge. Well, it kind of worked.
There has to be another way across.
It needs to.
I may regret suggesting this, but what about the speak?
What about it? Almost home. And there's another Grunthor in the way.
I do regret this.
Mistakes were made. Oh, nice. Well, it's got flowers on it. Nice. I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough for the ricochet, did I? Ow. No guns, only puns. Veritanium. After they die, they'll be in a state of rigor mortis. Oh. Oosh. Hashtag dead joke. Nope, you didn't meet Rick O'Shea Walsh. Oh, did I not? Oh, man. That's a shame. Oh, did they pop into the stream? Yeah, they bounced around.
Must be hit quickly.
Yep, morts are funny like that.
No comment. No. Oh, golden.
Yes,
Golden.
yes. Well done.
Golden bolt. That's one each now for Rivet and Ratchet. Yeah. Alright.
Time to find out the truth about you.
If only I could talk with Ratchet.
Home sweet home.
Why are you so hesitant to trust me?
Look, robots aren't really my thing, especially when they're tearing my galaxy apart.
I am not. I was trying to help Ratchet find the other Lombaxes.
We'll see the truth soon enough. Once I scan you and the infobot I found in Nefarious City.
This is a little optional thing. Oh, lovely. Off the chain. This is making a joke. I know you couldn't. I know you couldn't. Couldn't help yourself, could you, Ethereum? Back in the hideout. What would an amphibian lombax say? Rivet, rivet, rivet. Not wrong. Not wrong. Totally.
Safe for now.
This is extremely unnecessary.
Lombax.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you were being honest.
As I have been saying, repeatedly.
You're nefarious. He looks a lot like mine. Evil like him, too. And that Lombax. I know it might sound crazy, but
You think he is your dimensional counterpart.
or something. Look, whatever's going on here, we're gonna fix it.
We? I thought robots are not your thing.
Not all of them, just most. You know, like the Emperor, his stupid followers, pirates. Yeah, I see the irony too.
Oh, I apologize. I did not mean to,
You feel bad? Even though I just watched your brain diary thingy?
That's gonna self-destruct. Oh. I'm guessing they've come back for the info bump? Well, they got the wrong one. Go, Rivet, go!
Deploying amphibious explosives to neutralize hostile furball.
I'm today like glows red. Does that mean I'm kind of fucked? Oh. Just get him go.
That Seekerpete's flight stabilizer should be on its back. If I can get up there and hit it, I can bring the whole thing down.
Okay. Oh, I can see a ramp. I see a ramp. I see a ramp. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. Shit. Okay. Next one. Next one. Next one. Next one. Yeah.
Gotta hit the flight
Dunk.
stabilizer.
Oh, nice. Oh, not nice.
You must be so excited for annihilation.
Kinda.
Give me back my robot. The Emperor's got some weak standards, if that's all you got.
Power has almost restored the flight stabilizer. How delightful!
What? No, you're not getting away from me.
A level 5 blast pistol. Let's go. Hey, Luca. Good to see you, buddy.
Time to change tactics.
This planet is very riveting.
Amphibious explosives.
Throw whatever you want. You're not getting away from me.
Very riveting. I see what you did there. How you doing, Luca? Good to see you, buddy. How's things?
I can't get to the flight stabilizer until I jump on that.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying. Donk. Here we go again. Phase 2. Okay.
Your destruction is most definitely assured now.
Good though. Probably, actually, I might die. Ready? Oh, it's like a 3-prong? Oh, that's nice. Look at the spread on that weapon now. Oh, thank you.
This is the worst.
Got it.
This is unfortunate.
Guys, come on now.
You okay, Bolts?
You came after me. Thank you.
Yeah, well, at least
Bro, what's up with people just finding you 3 times more attractive when you're in a relationship? What's up with that? I honestly don't know, but that seems to be a thing.
How about I hook you up with the signal booster to fix that communicator of yours?
I wouldn't know that sort of stuff, personally.
Not as thrilling as what we're gonna find in this infobot, but it'll be close.
I assume that's something that that's the situation you're currently in at the moment. Oh, a lightning rod. Nice. Okay. Oh, that's us doing. I was finishing that up. Okay, so that's that done. Double shots. Double shot embers. Shots inflict damage over time. Nice.
That one is just begging for an upgrade.
I know, right? Blast pistol.
Ship's ready and waiting for you.
I know.
Mort, you fixed it. Thank you.
Wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. I need 8. Okay, I got 11. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. That's for the shatter bombs. I get shots fired at a higher rate and increase area of effect. The blast pistol. That is my go-to weapon.
Ooh, now look at
Travel
that.
faster. We'll do this. I think this is just to feed the all good men are either gay or taken narrative. Ah, okay. Just let me be both gay and taken. Exactly.
Thanks for shopping,
Right? You know? Surely you can have best of both worlds. Alright. Let's go. You're bored? Why have you come in here then?
Phantom, Moidoi, Captain Quantum, Klatchki. Me. Attention, Resistance. I'm posting the Emperor's hit list to our network. Come on, let's fix that communicator. We've got a dimension to save before the Emperor finds us too.
Oh, okay. We've been to Nefarious City, so we've done that. Okay, Sargasso, and now it's Skartsu Debris Field. Locate the part to repair Clank. Rivet must find a signal booster to repair Clank's communicator. Okay. But my motherboard needs replacing, and I can't find anything. And I can't do anything for now. Ooh. Yeah, fine enough. I did that over the weekend actually. I replaced my motherboard. Jack, stop. No, stop. Just stop doing that, please. Well, whoop-de-doo, Alfie. I know, right? Who cares? Living the life, aren't you? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I wanted to change it because my PC kept blue screen. Well, it did blue screen a couple times, and it I needed more storage space and USB ports, so I figured I could give it an upgrade. You know, rats rubbing my face some more. That wasn't my intention, okay? I'm just saying once you get that motherboard installed, you're gonna feel like a new person. I did not mean to press exit.
Let's do this.
Let's go. I hope so. Yeah, me too. Me too. Hate the mobile app for Twitch. Yeah, I know. It sucks.
What's on your mind?
Not great. I spent most of my... Well, I spent the first, like, what, 6 months using it, though? I didn't really have it... Well, yeah. I didn't really use Twitch on desktop that much to start with. But now I'm like, oh god, why did I do that?
That the dimensions are falling apart. That Ratchet and I are lost.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, your communicator's about to get fixed, so that's something.
Right.
What'd you get? Oh, I mean motherboard wise. What was you upgrading to?
So, this is,
well, my new PC. Well, my gaming PC.
The universe will find a part to fix you up. It's here.
So the brand I got was an. Do you want to know what you want to know what the brand was? Right.
Don't worry, Bolts. I'll get you fixed up. Promise.
Is that what you mean? Sorry. Yeah, the model. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's actually I've got it up there. It's an ASRock B650M Pro RS. Oh, look, it's the Clank bots. Oh, that's cool. I mean, I can type in chat if yes, ASRock. Yeah. I'll type in chat if it's any help. What's the BIOS like for that? It's not too bad. It's not... I haven't really properly dived into it that much. But yeah, I need to like tinker with it a bit more. My RAM, I think, just to get the right speeds and stuff, or you know, whatnot. I was looking into Asus or one of those. I've heard, I know this is Reddit, so take it with an absolute pinch of salt. Appreciate the lurk, chats. I know, from what I was looking at online, a lot of people were saying that Asus have turned into like, well, not turned into, but they've kind of gone like, oh yeah, it's all like money grabbing basically now, and they're saying that like ASRock is more of a, it's a cheaper, more like you get more value for money. From what I read online, but I could be completely wrong. I think it all depends on like what actual like what board you get. Like sometimes you might just get a board that is just faulty or, you know, not quite right.
Sure, that was everything, so I should probably get back to the mission.
Oh yeah, you heard that too about Asus? Yeah, I saw it on Reddit, and I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, I think because the motherboard I had originally is an MSI. That was all right. That was nice. That was a nice board. It took ages to boot though. But with this, the ASRock I got one now, it's much quicker boot time. Like the BIOS checks are much quicker, which is really nice. Lightning rod. Like Asus is slightly more expensive. Yeah, I think the ones I was looking at was like ASRock Gigabyte or Gigabit. I think it's called Gigabyte. I think it was called. Yeah, that and like MSI. They were the three I was looking at. Zap. Nice. Okay, let's get the ricochet.
You got the phone, sugar. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Sorry, that just reminded me of Sav. Beat yourself.
I do like the sight of that.
I looked into some models for Gigabyte, but I think my GPU will won't fit. Ah, okay. I know code will just delete the chat. I need that's 18 department. I can't escape it, can I? Do you think it won't fit? What haven't you got an AMD graphics card? Luco, from what I remember. Yeah, an MSI AMD thing. Do you know what the model is?
Do you spend much time here?
Yeah, this place is kind of a safe haven for the Resistance.
That's South American name.
Didn't find that out too.
Ah, okay. Oh, it's a nice little shield. Oh, the bear.
Think I'd be used to that by now.
Thanks for coming to Zerky's, where we slaughter with a smile.
Oh, nice.
Zerky's usually behind the bar. He'll know where to find the pirate with the spare parts.
Namaste, and
Namaste.
peace be with you, Rivet.
Namaste.
Have you seen our favorite first mate anywhere? I need a signal booster.
Well. We meet again, my wee chérie.
Oh, yeah. Of course he's
Give me
French.
the part.
Did you follow me here? Another fruitless effort to win my affection?
Give me the part, Pierre.
Time and again, I tell you, my heart is taken. And yet...
Rusty Pete?
Rusty? Mon Dieu. Your friend has a saucy tongue. My name is Pierre Lafer. Pirate extraordinaire.
I'll fight you for it.
Zerky's is a violence-free zone.
Take it outside.
I am more lover than fighter.
Oh, yeah, this.
I will always make an exception.
Some boost. Oh, AMD. Oh, 2600 XT.
I have many issues with that question.
Is this the main thing?
But why
Gotcha.
not? Where do we sign up to battle?
There's a console on that big wall of windows over there. It's cool. I'll show you.
Oh, here we go. Oh, look at here we go. Yeah, that was cool. Right, so yeah, because my graphic card is AMD as well.
We'll have to
Ooh.
sign up to take out those pirates. Don't worry. I'll win you that part.
Here we go.
Welcome, my minions, to Zircon's Slaughterhouse.
Nice.
Are you ready to witness
And that was Mr. Zircon and Mr. Zircon and gotcha. Makes sense then. AMG GPUs are way more bang for you, but fuck ray tracing. Yeah, I'm not really. I want ray tracing. I'll play like I got my consoles for that. So. Well, that's kind of cool. What makes little beeping noises too?
Dangerous battle arena.
Yeah, I got the latest gen of AMDs. So I got a 7800 XT. I'm like, you know, it'll last. You know. Three. I need to do two more ways of this. What's going on? Madame, monsieur. Hello? Oh. Mimi monsieur? For consoles, we're clearly we're clearly not the target audience. Yeah, I mean, as long as I can play most, if not all, games in 1080p, then that's all I ask for. And a decent stability, so that's all I can ask for. Bro, as long as I can give Shutney plays at 4K, I don't really. Nice. I mean that's totally fair. Hey, final wave? Any things? Have you? Have you now? Have you now? Are you sure about that? Oh, that hurt. Oh god, didn't see you there. Nice. These arena battles were my favorite parts of the Ratchet and Clank games. Yeah, these are quite fun. Remember the skateboarding one in the previous game? That was quite fun. Can I see Shimmy from King of Fighters breaking someone's skull with her thighs in 60 frames? Yes. Now you can. That's why I love deadlocks. That's all I ask. This game is fun. This game is fun. It gets really hard later on, though. Yeah, I remember the final boss for the 2018 game of Ratchet and Clank was on the more difficult side of things. I remember it took me a couple of tries. No. Ow. It was painful. Thank you for seeing the obvious, dude. I'm about to die. Oh, fuck. Defeat.
But eventually and dramatically, I will get my revenge. But yeah, take
I need to get into a streaming team or something. I just don't know what my main thing is, like branding and such. I mean, if it was me, I would say like Street Fighter? I know you play a lot of Street Fighter.
Eureka! She's done it.
So asshole is my brand. Hey, write that in your about section.
Can you hear me?
Clank, are you okay? Where are you? I saw that Lombax take you in.
I am fine.
In fact, I am with the Lombax now.
Hey, I'm Rivet.
What?
Hi. Wow, this is...
Oh, wait, okay. I have to tell you something. Dr. Nefarious just crowned himself Emperor of this dimension.
He did what? No. I've got my hands full with my own Nefarious.
That's the thing.
We've got to get him and us out of here, but...
Without the Dimensionator...
I think we have to build a new one. I met a prophet from Savali named Gary. He would know what to do.
I'm only a few sectors away from there. I can go check it out.
What can we do?
Do you have the planet Blizar Prime in this dimension?
Yeah? Why?
We can locate the phase quartz used to power the Dimensionator there. If I am right, we will be able to recreate the device in no time.
I guess we better get started then. I'm glad you're okay, buddy.
You too, Ratchet.
Be careful out
there.
Wow. Another Lombax.
Let's build this thing.
Oh.
Nice work back there. Bet we could win the Bronze Cup before heading to Blizar Prime. Wouldn't mind the extra bolts to gear up.
Hey, that's not a bad shot, actually. I'm only back because Terry Bogard's going to be next. Oh, yeah, he's DLC, wasn't he? The next DLC pack. So we got defeat 25 goons using only in the Enforcer. Yeah, why not? Ow, why is my knee hurting? Oh, yeah. I mean, to be fair. Oh, majestic. I get this damage over time. Oh, level 4, let's go. Yeah, I would just, if in terms of like branding and stuff, I think I would just find like, you know, you do a lot of art as well. So if you do like a lot of artwork, Monster Hunter, I'm out of ammo. Yes, I see. Oh. Yeah, that was easy. Wants to blunder. Got him. Got him. We got time trial, finish the Speedle course quickly. Okay.
Can you reach the end of my treacherous trap without falling off your steed?
I hope.
Can our Lombax handle something more deadly? Save the
Probably not. Ooh! Nailed it. Boink. Oh, okay. New destinations logged into the ship. Okay, that's nice. And that's the finish line. That was easy.
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Nice. For me, my brand is mostly JRPGs and obscure games that people might not know of. Yeah. Yeah, you do love your JRPGs, I will say that. Go, 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 go! Yeah, I was zooming. Defeat the undead Grunthor. Yeah, no. Your brand is being cultured and actually having good taste. Clearly not, right? Ooh. Oh. Oh, it's just a Grundle with just... Okay. Don't blame her. Wait. Makes the Transformers transform sound. It's kind of cool. That not so much. That not so much. Yeah, gets Mr. Fungi up. That's cool. I love the sound of that. Boing, 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 boing. Or Pyre Corpse. Yeah, exactly. Oosh, nice. Oh, Carbonox Advanced Boots. Nice. The disco gun is funny. The game's guns are mad. Oh yeah, yeah, they are. They are insane. I remember the disco ball one. That was pretty cool. Galactic Ranger. So melee damage increases by 5%. Damage from pirates reduced by 5%. Bolts gained extra 5%. Ooh. Damage from nefarious enemies decreased by 5%. Damage from goon for less decreased by 5%. I kind of like her outfit like that, to be honest. I found a gold boat. Bolt. Each one grants you access to a unique reward or cheat. Oh, I can... Wait, I can pick up rubies? Hold on. Hold the phone. Oh, a gold wrench? I mean, I'm definitely saying yes to that. Oh, actually, bubblegum looks quite nice. fucking amazing. Okay, so we get out of here.
Gotten a little quiet back there. Everything okay?
I may have slightly misrepresented the difficulties of building a Dimensionator.
Well, I mean, sure. We all knew it wasn't going to be easy.
Yes, but phase quartz is
One of the rarest minerals in the universe. Right.
Right. Oh, drill hound. Oh, let's go. I'm gonna go for now. See you guys later. This is hitting my eyes. Oh, no worries, no worries. Yeah, take care, Loco. And say hi. I appreciate that. I appreciate you popping in now and again. I hope your motherboard gets swapped soon. Let me know what it looks like. Yeah, have a good one, Luca. You nerds.
Looks like you got enough for that beauty.
Ooh, lightning rod. Let's go. And the game is just giving me every single weapon known to man, like off the bat. Huh. I mean, I won't say no. The enforcer. Ooh, how much have I got? 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. 8. Oh, I can upgrade the enforcer again. Shadow Bomb is actually better. Enemies in the area of effect take maximum damage. Oh, yeah. That I will take.
That is one mighty fine enhancement.
I'll start pumping into Mr. Fun Guy. Well, I remember. Well, I remember. That's because I know you do stream from time to time. Yeah, go give him a follow if you haven't already.
Hey there, Rivet. If you're hearing this and can spare a moment or two, Trudy sure could use your help on Sargasso.
Trudy?
She's a friend. Probably has nothing to do with saving the dimension, but Mort wouldn't ask if it wasn't important.
Okay, let's go then. I'm guessing that should sound familiar. Oh.
Hello, Dimension. I know I've been
Oh
away
my
for
God.
you know how long. So, I thought we should catch up. What have I been up to? Oh, just speaking with my adoring fans, enjoying my lovely scenery, and finding out that there are two insolent lumbaxes running around trying to ruin everything. So, I'm offering a bounty of 3 squillion nefarious freedom coupons to anyone who can bring me those fuzzy miscreants, dead or alive. But preferably alive, so I can have some fun with them first. My elaborate spy network indicates that they'll be at Blizzard and Savali very soon. So, get to it! And if those Lombaxes are listening, just know that I'm going to crush you into dust. And then I'll blast that dust into a sun, and then I'll dump that sun into...
Great. Now I'm on 2 nefarious hit lists.
Ratchet knows where we are going. Oh, dear.
Oh dear. Got Savali.
Hope Ratchet finds that prophet soon.
Yeah, so... Okay, so the next thing you do is Ratchet. Okay.
Forgotten about you, Trudy.
Let's go see Trudy. It's yeah, it's nearly 10 o'clock now, so... Go see what Trudy wants. Whee! I love that. He just kept shooting out. Aww.
What's the matter with Trudy?
Oh, hey there, Rivet. Oh, she's just hungry for Zerpstones. Normally she nabs them from those rock islands up there, but I guess she's too tired to fly today.
Aw, up late partying again? Don't worry, I'll grab him.
Oh, you're a peach. We'll be waiting right here when you get back. Oh, we're gonna get you some grub real soon.
A soapstone! This is just what Trudy needs.
Huh? How did I die from that? Okay, fair enough, I guess. I broke the game so much.
You did it, Rivet! That should be more than enough Zerpstones to get Trudy here chirping.
I'm holding it, I'm holding it, I'm holding it.
Again, head on back to the Gelatonium factory so we can thank you in person.
Aw, Trudy, I know you like... Trudy, look!
Death by landing on Zerpstones?
Zerpstones!
Yeah, right?
You know, if you ever wanted to grab some more, I'd consider trading those ranger boots behind me for them. I'll mark your map with all the Zerpstones in the area, just in case you're interested.
Oh, they did that before.
Wish to look now, I bet this speeder would prove quite useful.
Wait, another 5. Oh, that's not too bad. Nice. Oh my god, that you can actually... That is amazing. You can change it so you can pick up rupees instead of bolts. Oh, that's great. That's great. Positively shocking. Yeah.
Will do. Hey, Mort, this whole Zerpstone delivery remind you of anything?
Oh, you mean the first time we met?
Making deliveries for the Gelatonium factory so I could save up for my own place. Man, those hours were brutal.
Well, you've come a long way since then, Rivet, and I've never stopped feeling lucky that we met that day. I'll see you soon.
How long have you known Mort?
Since I was a kid. They're, you know, a little odd, but they're one of the good ones.
Handbrake, apologies.
Feeling better? Hot dog! Look at all those Zerpstones! These ranger boots are all yours!
Got the helmet, so I just need the chest piece.
Now, Trudy here's got a big appetite, so if you find the rest of the Zerpstones, I'll give you this Rhino spy bot too!
Oh. Gelatonium, what jelly babies are made out of? Yeah, gelatonium, and yeah, I think that is jelly babies and that kind of sweets. Yeah, might be right.
Hop on her back when you're ready to go after him.
With Trudy's help, I'll be able to scope out where the rest of the Zerpstones are.
I don't want to get the spy bot just yet. Yeah, because if I look at my inventory list, huh? I'm gonna have a lot of weapons. think we'll stop here. I think this is a good place to stop. While we wait for the answer to finish, I'm just looking to see who we can raid out to. So. Well, Ben's playing No Man's Sky. James, Vicky's playing James's wife Vicky's playing Fallout 4. Nice. Sherry's playing. Oh, she's near the end of Rebirth. Oh my. End of Kingdom. Ali's on Kingdom Hearts 3. Hmm. All good. It's a good spot to call it. Yeah, I was just thinking just before starting a new just starting any more story stuff. Figure that's a good place to stop it for now. But yeah, that was part 1 of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Yeah, really enjoying it so far. It's nice to just run around and break things, and I say it's still a challenge in terms of like some of the combat and stuff, but having a lot of fun with it. It's nice to jump back into a Ratchet and Clank game, to be honest. I need to play more of them at some point. Hopefully I'll find some time to do that. But yeah, I think we're just gonna wrap up for tonight. Again, so I can just close everything down and get the PC off and get to bed. So I think that's the plan. But until then, stay safe, everybody. Take care of yourselves. And I will see you hopefully tomorrow with more Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I will see you for part 2. Good night, everyone.